The court is ready to hear argument in 14-456 KBMT Operating Company against Toledo.
May it please the court, Mr. McCabe will present argument for petitioners. Petitioners have reserved 5 minutes for rebuttal.
May it please the court. This case deals with the application of two defamation defendants that have long...
It's important for the court to get out and about and take our show on the road periodically because people are utterly mystified at the judiciary.
We think it's important that Texans have access to their judicial system, and not only when they need it because they're involved in it, but the knowledge of the system.
It's a way for the people of Texas, and especially folks at educational institutions like ACU, to come and see firsthand what it is that the court does, and to understand the role of the judiciary in their daily life.
So our work affects every Texan of every age. And I think most people's exposure to the law and to our court system comes by watching Judge Judy or Law and Order on TV. And it's a great opportunity for us to kind of peer behind the curtain a little bit, go behind the bench a little bit, and really kind of give people a front row seat at how judges really wrestle with very fateful, consequential issues.
When people in the community see the Supreme Court in action doing the work that they do, it provides some confidence in what the court's doing. It gives them some feeling that government is working.
The state of Texas was here at ACU. The majesty, the power, the fairness of the court was here for our students and for the public to see.
Didn't that imply that, in fact, this relationship was with a child?
No, Your Honor, it did not. If you turn now to exhibit number 3, you will see Dr. Toledo's TMB profile. The TMB profile is required by the Texas Occupations Code, the Texas Medical
We
Board.
had hundreds of people in the Hunter Welcome Center because we came face to face with the 9 most powerful people in Texas right here on the ACU campus. The highlight, of course, of the court's visit was on Friday. That's when they heard 2 hearings back to back. There was a large lunch for ACU students and administrators afterwards. The justices then met with individual classes that also came to the Hunter Welcome Center afterwards.
Part-time, I was so like crazy, and the owner of the company would come by.
What impressed me the most about the Supreme Court visit was how humble they were. They weren't conceited, they weren't boastful, they were really down to earth, and they were excited about visiting the school and learning more about the students.
These are some of the most important people in the state of Texas and in the United States, and they did not act like they were the most important people. They were very, very humble. They took their job very, very seriously, but they didn't take themselves all that seriously, and that was really refreshing to see.
When you think of the Supreme Court, you think of like, oh, they're constantly in the court, they're constantly issuing opinions, but for them to be accessible and to come to Abilene was extremely eye-opening. To know that we as students can have a tangible impact on the world is what we talk about in our classrooms all the time. To see that played out and for an ACU grad to be on the Texas Supreme Court is the epitome of what I believe ACU wants to do with its students.
We get to see that our goals are attainable, especially having Justice Boyd, who had been in our own shoes, not too long ago. See that the goals that we have, we can reach them. Nothing's too lofty. They're on the Supreme Court of Texas.
To see someone graduate from ACU and become part of the Supreme Court, it inspires me and it inspires other students to change the state, change the nation, and change the world.
I think having Justice Boyd on the court tells students that this is something that's actually attainable for them. People sometimes think, well, I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. We talk to students about making a real difference in the world, and Justice Boyd is making a difference.
We know that the influence of Justice Boyd, and before him, Justice Jack Pope, who graduated from ACU in 1934, has been immeasurable in helping students know what they need to do and how to prepare to be on the bench. And so the doors that are opened by Wildcats from the past to those in the future is of tremendous help in shaping what our students get to experience and what jobs they get.
Anybody who has spent any time in Texas law has heard of Jack Pope. He has played an important, it's hard to overemphasize the important role he played in Texas law during the 20th century and continues to play through the work that he did. And so to have somebody else from ACU stand in that place and follow in that legacy, it's really exciting to see.
Jack Pope is one of the most unique people to ever live in Texas. And as the oldest living Chief Justice of a state court in America, he has a lot to be proud of.
For my senior Pope Fellows project, I chose to put together a display case on Jack Pope's life for when the Supreme Court came to visit. And that included going through Jack Pope's papers, which Jack Pope donated to ACU. It's 250 linear feet of all of his photos, videos, legal records, all types of things downstairs in the ACU library. The most interesting thing to me was he taught a Sunday school class, so he kept all of his Sunday school records, and it was really interesting that he would actually bring up legal matters in his Sunday school class and relate how his Christianity affected his work on the Supreme Court, which really tied together how his Christianity, his morals, and his work on the Supreme Court all kind of came together and made him who he was.
Jack Pope is probably the most esteemed former member of this court. He's legendary and not only respected but loved by everybody who knew him. The first month I sat on the court, I was on the far other end, and then the second month ended up sitting on the end that happened to be right under his portrait and had not noticed it yet. And in the middle of oral argument was kind of leaning back and thinking, and out of the corner of my eye thought, wait, I'm sitting under Justice Pope.
For a man of such small stature, his legacy looms very large here at the Supreme Court. His portrait hangs on the wall behind the bench, and it serves as an inspiration to all 9 members of the court all the time, both in his devotion to the law, his devotion to public service, and his devotion to this court.
Jack Pope is a Lone Star legend. If there were a Mount Rushmore of Texas judicial history, his face would certainly be there. He is universally admired, universally adored, with good reason. He devoted a big chunk of his life to serving the Lone Star State. I've been honored to have a couple of Jack Pope fellows work for me at the court as law clerks, and they were superb, and they really fully embodied those noble attributes of Jack Pope.
I'm not a visionary at all, but I have a dream anyway, that the Pope Fellows program at ACU would just become known as the place that if you're a Christian and you want to get involved in public service and you want the real life, practical yet academic opportunities to be prepared for that everybody knows that ACU is where you want to go to do that.